How are we, lads? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Nick from Australia, and welcome to the Friday night football review for round number 4 of the 2025 NRL season. 2 games of football to review tonight, and holy crap, an upset in there. The Titans going down to Allianz Stadium and knocking off the Roosters. Did not see that coming. Although, if you go back and watch my tipping video on Tuesday, I did say I was going to tip the Titans until a certain Keanu Kinney was ruled out, but it did not matter whatsoever. The Titans were very good. The Titans were very good. They deserved the win. The Roosters, in my opinion, they threw the game away. They played some really, really poor football at some really bad times. And the Broncos and Dolphins, obviously the Battle of Brisbane, the Brisbane Derby, the Broncos getting the better of the Dolphins, 20 points to 12 in what was a fairly good game of footy. Like, I thought the Roosters-Titans game was a dour affair. Thought it was scrappy. But I thought the Broncos and Dolphins game was quite good. Really enjoyed that game. If you guys are new around here, do not forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. If you're a regular viewer, thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you all. Yes. Very good. Sorry, guys. Just getting back to somebody. Yeah, look, the Broncos, man. The Broncos and Dolphins was a good game. Thought that was a really good game. Just want to say it quickly. Hello to the chat. And we'll get through these games as quick as we can. Hello to Michael Driver. Hello to Bullseye. Hello to, I believe that's Connor. Hello to Cooper, Paul Wallace, everyone that's in the chat, Jason Reader. Hope you guys are all doing very well. Welcome to the review for the Friday Night Football Review. Man, I'm in a pretty good mood because just Friday Night Football, sitting back and enjoying the games. Like, I had a good time tonight. I really enjoyed the footy. Obviously, the first game was a bit of a dour affair, a bit of a slugfest. Not much of a, it wasn't a great game. The Titans-Roosters won, but the last 15 minutes were quite entertaining because of how close the game was. It sort of opened up a little bit, and Titans ended up running away with it, which was quite surprising. And then, obviously, Dolphins-Broncos, Battle of Brisbane, in the pouring rain, man. The conditions at Suncorp looked dreadful. The ground looked soaked. It looked like a really, really wet night up there at Suncorp Stadium. But we might as well get into the review, guys. Hope you guys are all doing very well. I also want to mention quickly, guys, if you want to donate to the channel, feel free to do so. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You've got PayPal, which is the best option. You've got PayID, which is another very good option. And you've got Super Chat. I'm not a big fan of Super Chat because usually when someone does a Super Chat, I don't get the money for about 2 months. But if you want to donate and you want me to get the money instantly, PayID and PayPal are the best options. The link to that is in the description box down below. So thought I would throw that out there for you guys because I know I've been getting a few people lately sending me messages asking, what's the best way to donate, Nick? Well, PayPal, PayID are your best options. But let's get to the game, shall we? We'll start with the Roosters-Titans game. And I must say, the Roosters, gee, they're a hard side to get a read on. Like, you go back to round 1, they got smashed by 50 at Allianz against the Broncos. Round 2, they were paying like $11 to beat the Panthers, and they did that at CommBank Stadium. That was their grand final. Like, obviously, the game against the Warriors last week in New Zealand, they led 6-4 for a very long time, and they arguably could have won that game, but they seemed to have, they ran out of gas towards the end. And then tonight, well, they were leading 12-6 for a while, and then once Jaden Campbell got that intercept try to make it 12-all, the Titans just came over the top of them with so much momentum. The Titans found some confidence, and obviously, they got some tries there. Philip Sami got one late in the game, and the Titans were sitting up for a field goal through Jaden Campbell, but Tino crashed over untouched, essentially. That was, 24-12, and then with about a minute to go, the Roosters were like, all right, well, we're going to throw the ball around and see if we can get a late try and make a game of it, but I think they knocked the ball on. I think it was Robert Toyer or Nat Butcher. One of them knocked the ball on, and then Brimson picked it up and ran 55 meters and scored, and the Titans ended up winning 30-12. And, on a personal level, I do not like the Titans. I have, we all know the story. I don't need to get into it. I have, personally, I do not like the Titans at all. But I must admit, I have been quite impressed with them in the first two rounds. They played well. I know the Bulldogs game in round two was one to forget for them, but in that game they had a really good second half because you have a look at the Titans so far. They had the bye round one. They had that horrible first half against the Bulldogs in round two. They had a better second half, but they lost by about 16, I think it was. And then last week they defended really well against Newcastle, ended up winning that game quite well. And then obviously tonight they beat a Roosters team who's been, a bit ordinary, but the Titans, we know their record in Sydney. We know they don't travel well. I thought they played a good game of football, especially in that last 20 minutes tonight. They were very good. That was the Titans' first win in Sydney since round 9, 2023, when they beat Manly at Brookvale Oval on a wet Saturday night. So we know the Titans don't usually play well at grounds like CommBank and Accor Stadium and Allianz, but this was their first game at the brand new Allianz Stadium, and the Titans played really, really well. They were solid, man. Now, I want to talk about some of their main guys who were good. I thought Jaden Campbell and AJ Brimson as a halves pairing were very good tonight. I thought Tino, once again, he was outstanding. I thought the young fullback, Jalen de Groot, had a solid game. I thought Bo Fermor was really good on the edge. David Fafita coming off the bench, very strong. But when you consider how much money the Titans are paying David Fafita, they probably do need to get him in the starting side and get Claes Haas back to the bench. But the Titans were very good. Full credit to them. As for the Roosters, James Tedesco, I honestly felt sorry for him. He was easily the best player on the field for the Roosters, and it wasn't even close. He was easily their best player. He did everything that he could for him out there, and it still wasn't enough. So they need more than Tedesco to win games. But I thought everyone else, I thought the halves were really poor. I thought Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend didn't combine that well tonight. I thought Zach Docker-Clay for the Roosters was pretty good. Angus Crichton's not getting enough ball, in my opinion. It's just one of those games. The Roosters, once again, losing. They're 0-2 at home to start the year, so they got to try and get a win at home soon. The Roosters next week, they travel to Accor Stadium at Homebush and take on their arch rivals, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And I know form doesn't really mean anything when it comes to these big rivalry games, but the way the Rabbitohs are going, and with them getting Latrell Mitchell back and Ewan Aiken back next week, and God knows who else, the Rabbitohs are looking pretty good next week. The Roosters are going to have to be on their A game if they're going to beat the Rabbitohs next week. But my top three players on ground from the Roosters-Titans game. Number 3, I'm going to go with Tino Fasua-Malawi. Thought he was outstanding. Number 2, I'm going to go with the young fullback, Jalen DeGoot. He was very good at fullback. And my player of the game is, I'm going to give it to AJ Brimson. I thought he had a really good game, scored 2 tries, played well tonight. Brimson gets my player of the game. And we move on to the Battle of Brisbane, the Queensland local derby up there. It was the Dolphins and the Broncos on a very very wet Suncorp Stadium up there in front of about 44,000 people. Broncos 20, Dolphins 12. I will say this. Now, is it panic stations for the Dolphins? I think you have to say yes. They're 0-4 to start the year. Like, you go back to round one for the Dolphins. You go back to round one. They were beaten by the Rabbitohs after leading 14-6. They should have won that game in round one, but they didn't. Round two, they were pretty ordinary against Newcastle. Round three, again, last week, they led 18-6 against the West Tigers, and they got run down 30-18. They conceded 4 tries in a row. 24 unanswered points. And then tonight, they were in that game with the Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos got out to a 20-6 lead. Dolphins scored a late try, and they were coming to get them late in the game, but just some really bad decision-making from the halves, in my opinion, and the entire spine. So there are some real concerns for the Dolphins. I'm not sure where they go from here. They take on the Titans next week on the Gold Coast, which, I mean, typically with the Titans having won their last 2 games, Dolphins 0-4, it would be a typical Dolphins win, considering the Titans, you can't really trust them, even though they're in good form at the moment, but teams are going to win games eventually. But my God, it'd be very hard to tip the Dolphins next week unless they make changes, man. Like, their attacks all over the place. Like, the Dolphins' attack was all over the shop tonight. I know the conditions weren't great, but they got some shit to work out because I watched Katoa, I watched Nikorima. They only combine when there's two plays. So I'm not sure what the go is there. You look at the hooker, Marshall King, he tries really hard, but where's the hammer? This is my biggest take from the Dolphins the first 4 rounds. Where the hell was the hammer? He's not even involved in the play. He's not in support when there's a line break. He's nowhere to be seen. Where is the hammer? Now, I don't want to bag the hammer too much because next week he'll probably score 2 or 3 tries and make us all look silly, but I'm calling it as I see it. They're 0-4 to start the year. I'm disappointed with the Dolphins because I thought that'd be a team that might be around that 6 to 12 mark on the ladder. But at the moment, based off the first 4 rounds, the Dolphins and Parramatta, they're wooden spoon contenders. They have got some serious concerns. So I don't know where the Dolphins go from here. They obviously take on the Titans next week, which will not be an easy game. They'll be desperate to win, but what are they going to do with the team? Now, the one thing I did like about the Dolphins is I'm very glad Max Plaff went back to lock and Gilbert went to left edge back row. I'm glad they did that. That was good stuff. I'm glad they did that. But, Herbie Farnworth had more touches than anybody. He was very good. Too many errors from the forwards too, like Saifidi, couple of errors. Josh Kerr had a few errors. I think it was Josh Kerr. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Josh Kerr? No, it wasn't Josh Kerr. Must have been Ray Stone or someone because there was a few errors off the bench tonight. I thought Cooley Finifiliaki tried really hard for the Dolphins. I thought Mark Nichols tried hard off the bench, but everyone else, like, my God. I'm just having a look at some stats. So, Daniel Saifidi, as average as I thought he was, he had the most run meters out of any of the forwards tonight. 156 meters. So, take that as you will. Like, obviously, the backs all ran for over 125 meters each. So, the backs did their job, but everything else was all over the place, man. All over the shop. Now, for the Broncos were very good, man. I think the Broncos' attack is still a work in progress. Like, I wouldn't say the Broncos' attack was, an 8 out of 10 or anything. I still think they attack well, especially on the left-hand side with Shibasaki. getting 2 tries tonight, but their attack still needs a bit of work. I mean, have a look at the try scorers. You had Shibasaki get 2, Pakes and Staggs got 1, and for the Dolphins, Plath and Avarillo. Now, I had question marks on Shibasaki getting picked over Dean Mariner, but you got to say it's a genius move from Michael Maguire. Shibasaki is a big body. He's a big guy. Defensively, solid, and he played quite well tonight. I think he got player of the game from Channel 9 on the commentary there. JT, after the game, gave him some medal. So Shibasaki's doing his job, and he's playing well. So fair play to him. Now, the one thing I am going to complain about, and this has happened for the second week in a row now. Last week in the Broncos and Cowboys game, Reece Walsh shoulder charges Murray Talangi in a try-scoring situation where it results in a penalty to the Cowboys and nothing else. Reece Walsh on report gets penalised and a $3,000 fine. Jordan Ricky does a shoulder charge right before halftime on Jack Botstock. Botstock is forced to go from the field for a HIA. It was forceful. It was reckless. It was ridiculous. How Jordan Ricky wasn't in the sin bin is absolutely beyond me. Like, if you shoulder someone right here, you use this shoulder, you hit someone in the head, in the way that he did, it was very forceful. He should have been in the bin. Jordan Ricky should have been binned. I can't believe he wasn't in the bin. That surprised me. I'm a little bit disappointed with the refereeing in that department. Like, shoulder to the head, a guy goes for a HIA. The bunker's got at least 2 minutes to have a good look at it and have all these different camera angles. I don't understand how he wasn't in the bin, although what I will say, Jordan Ricky will either get a $3,000 fine like Reece Walsh did last week, or he'll get a 1-week suspension, because that's how the NRL's running things with the inconsistency with the judiciary at the moment. But I think he's got to be suspended. He should have been sin bin. You can't shoulder blokes in the head. You just can't do it. I mean, if it's a situation where a player is falling and they slip and they, or whatever, accidental momentum thing, but this wasn't one of those. This was direct contact to the head. Should have been in the sin bin, in my opinion. Very, very tough call. But the Broncos were very good, man. You got to give them credit. They played well. They defended very well. And that's what won them the game in the end. Defense, scoreboard pressure, and just probably the spine was probably a bit better as well. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about Reece Walsh's form, which I think is a bit crazy to be bagging a bloke who's winning games. But Walsh wasn't great tonight. It was solid, but wouldn't say it was great. The best player on the field for me was Shibasaki. But like I said, if I was giving you my top 3, I'd probably go with Payne Haas. I know Payne Haas was good. Payne Haas tonight for me. Number 3, Payne Haas. Number 2 for me is going to go to Adam Reynolds. His kicking game once again, absolutely outstanding. And my player of the game is Shibasaki, man. Shibasaki was very good. He had a good game tonight. Good to see him play well. He's a bit of a journeyman, Shibasaki, but good to see him getting into the Broncos side and playing some pretty good footy. So good stuff from him. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up the review. I appreciate you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, guys. Really appreciate you all. I'll be doing a Cowboys-Raiders live stream reaction tomorrow, as I will not be at the game because I'll be in Sydney for round 5 against Penrith, and then I'll be in Perth against the Rabbitohs the week after. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow at about 5:20, 5:25 for the Cowboys Raiders live reaction, live stream, watch along, whatever the hell you want to call it. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. And see you in the next one.